Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete and today we complete the release of the cure for the plague on Omega. In the last episode we fought our way through the slums of Omega to meet Dr. Mordin Solus. We are currently still inside of his clinic, where he has been working on the cure for the plague that has affected several species in the slums. As long as the plague isn't cured, the doctor also won't be able to join us in our quest against the collectors, so our task for today is to spread the cure through the slums' air filtration system. However, as we already experienced in the previous episode, Mordin's clinic is deep within Vorcha territory, and so the next fight is once again just around the corner. So as we head out here, we want to make sure to equip the sniper rifle, while Miranda and Jacob will both use the newly acquired M6 Carnifex hand cannon.
Got it.
Understood.
Got it.
We also want the two of them to stay back for a moment and peek around the corner ourselves, because in the next area a sizable group of Vorcha is waiting for us. Now we are making a big entrance here by exploding the gas tank of the Bloodpack Pyro, and after that we'll also tell Miranda and Jacob to move up and take cover on the other side of the entrance. This fight right here also shows why the M6 Carnifex is currently the best weapon for our two squad members, as all of the Bloodpack enemies here have armor but no shields. The M6 Carnifex meanwhile is a heavy pistol, and as such is particularly useful for taking down armored enemies. We also have quite a bit of distance between us and the enemies here, and that is another advantage of the M6 Carnifex. As a heavy pistol, it has pretty decent accuracy over medium to long range. The alternatives, Miranda's submachine gun and Jacob's shotgun, both of those are not ideal options in this fight. Miranda's SMG because it's pretty weak against armor, and Jacob's shotgun for the reason that its usability is limited to close range only. All that just as a quick introduction to weapon choices. Up next, let's talk about warp detonations. Combining biotic effects is new in Mass Effect 2, with one of the most prominent combos being the aforementioned warp detonation that you can see on screen right here. The way it works is actually quite simple. Using warp on an enemy that is already affected by a different biotic attack, such as pull for example, that will detonate the first biotic effect and cause what is called a warp detonation. Now, the cool thing about a warp detonation is that it deals double damage compared to a normal warp. Also, the warp detonation is actually an area of effect attack, so if other targets are close to the one that is affected, they are caught in the blast radius. The only downside is that just like regular biotic attacks, a warp can only be used on a target without armor, so especially in the case of the Krogan Bloodpack warriors, it does take quite a while until the warp detonation can actually be used. Still, especially in the early game, it is a very powerful combination of effects, and last but not least, combining these biotic powers will eventually also unlock the Tactician achievement, for which we need to hit enemies with 20 of these biotic power combinations. We have one of them already, and as the Krogan here is losing his armor, we are also getting number 2, and that still leaves us with 18 more to go. So we have now talked about weapons, we have talked about warp detonations. Let's now also talk about the area that we're in and about a good strategy to clear it out. As you saw, for the majority of this fight we stayed back with our squad members and remained in cover. Apart from the occasional Krogan, the Bloodpack are not the hardest enemies to take down, and equipped with pistols, assault rifles and shotguns, they get their biggest advantage if we move in too close. That makes the sniper rifle an excellent choice up until the point where the first two waves are cleared out, which is normally marked by the death of the second Krogan. At that point, things become a bit more tricky as the enemies no longer rush into that main middle area. Ammunition for the sniper rifle should have also become a bit more scarce at this point. Still, we want to remain careful, because simply switching over to the assault rifle or shotgun and rushing in blindly can kill us very quickly. I have also found that sending your squad members out first will often draw additional enemies in, which sounds like a good idea at first, but on insanity difficulty it's actually something that can overwhelm your squad pretty easily. Therefore, this right here now becomes the first moment in this fight where our squad members are actually allowed to switch positions, while Shepard himself has equipped the assault rifle and is now moving around the corner to try and get into a flanking position. We also now have another Krogan rushing in, thankfully the only enemy who comes close, and we don't leave anything up to chance with this one. On insanity difficulty, a single Krogan can still be devastating, so we are taking this one out with the generous use of our grenade launcher. That is now the last Krogan of the area taken care of, and so we're now only dealing with the few remaining Vorcha stragglers. Still, those should not be underestimated, as one wrong move could get us caught in the crossfire, and this early in the game we don't have much to protect ourselves with. At this point, I think it should also be obvious that we have long left any territory controlled by the Blue Suns, who were already struggling and losing against the Vorcha in front of the clinic, and now that we've made it past the clinic are nowhere to be seen. So the Vorcha are firmly in control, and this is interesting considering what Mordin said at the end of the last episode, because unlike many others, he actually suspected the Vorcha to be behind the plague. However, since they are not the most advanced species, he also suspected the Collectors to use the Vorcha to spread the plague. Of course, we haven't found any evidence for that yet. It is clear though that the Vorcha are profiting immensely from the plague. Now we only have one single enemy left in the area, and even though things went pretty smoothly here, this can really be a tricky fight to win. There are many things that can go wrong and kill you. Running out of sniper ammo, for example, can be a big problem early on, and sometimes even overlooking a single Vorcha hiding behind the corner is enough to make things go south. We, however, are still alive and have officially beaten this first fight of the episode. It is now our first priority to collect all the ammunition that is lying around, because surprise surprise, this is not going to be the last fight, and things are only going to get tougher from here. Before we leave the area, we can also get our hands on a medical station on the wall here, which gives us 100 credits or alternatively a medkit had we used one earlier. On the other side of the room next to the stairs, we can then find ourselves a gambling terminal, which can quickly be hacked for 3000 credits. That is also already everything we have in this area, so let's move up the stairs and proceed. Over in the corner here we can stock up our funds even more by hacking a bank terminal for 5000 credits. On we go, up the stairs to the right and then up another set of stairs, and here we now have the choice between two doors and we want to make sure to take the left one first.
I'm telling you the truth. I work for Mordin at the clinic. I came here to help you.
We know you're spreading the plague virus. We saw the vials in your bag.
No, those vials contain the cure. Please, you have to believe me.
Maybe we should cut off your fingers. That should Look out! Don't move. One more step and we'll kill your friend.
Alright, we have just stumbled upon Daniel, Mordin's assistant at the clinic. He is being held at gunpoint by a group of Batarians, and with one of the two dialogue options on the left, we could defuse the situation here immediately. However, we can also get ourselves 2 extra Paragon points first by urging everyone in the room to stay calm.
Nobody do anything they'll regret.
Shut up, human. We're giving the orders here. Drop your weapons, or he dies.
Alright, at this point the situation is as serious as it sounds. Every single dialogue option on the right would result in Daniel's death, so we are going Paragon once again to make the Batarians let him go.
I know you're scared of the Vorcha, the plague, but this man isn't to blame. If he was spreading the virus, why would he come into Vorcha territory? They're immune.
He's right. It doesn't make any sense. If we release the prisoner, we can go.
You have my word on it.
Let him go. You got what you wanted, human. Are we free to go?
Now we could go with the option at the bottom here and start another fight. However, in Mass Effect 2, unlike in Mass Effect 1, you don't get extra experience points for killing anyone, and letting the Batarians walk here would keep our promise from earlier, and as far as I know, it also does not have any negative consequences.
We had a deal.
Human nobility. I didn't know such a thing existed.
Thank you. I thought they were gonna kill me. Did Mordin send you to find me?
And in fact, Mordin did exactly that, so let's send Daniel back to the clinic where he's most useful, while we are probably better suited to distribute the cure.
The professor could use your help right now. He's got too many patients and not enough volunteers.
Yeah, okay. I'll go right away. Thanks again. I owe you, well, everything.
Alright, this marks the small assignment as solved and we get 40 experience points for that. Let us also quickly grab the credits from the medkit and some ammunition, and with that we should now be stocked full and can continue onwards. With our 2 squad members in cover on either side of the door, we can rush through and into the next firefight, which luckily is only a short one as we are taking on 3 Bloodpack troopers. There is also no need to waste sniper rifle ammo in this fight. The distance between us and the enemies is close enough so that the assault rifle will do just fine. 2 things you might be able to notice in this fight. Number 1, the Vorcha have incredibly fast health regeneration, so it is almost always a good idea to continue to fire on them until they're dead. And number 2, even if their armor is destroyed, enough time outside of the line of fire will actually allow them to regenerate that as well. And this just once again goes to show you that the Vorcha are by no means the toughest enemies to take down. However, those abilities can definitely be very annoying and drag out a fight longer than it has to be.
Right behind you.
Right!
Now, sometimes the enemies here drop some ammo, so it's always worth a look. In this case, though, they didn't, so we can simply move on. Now, for the next area, we once again want our squad members to stay back for a moment, while we switch back over to the sniper rifle. You can also immediately see why, as we have Vorcha with rocket launchers positioned on the upper level alcoves. Now, there are more enemies waiting in the area below, but we don't want to fight them all at the same time, so it is a very good idea to send Shepard and the sniper rifle out first, so that he can deal with those enemies before the rest of the squad moves in. In total, there are only 4 of these rocket launching Vorcha on the upper level, so it shouldn't be too hard to get rid of them, provided you don't get hit first. Once they are taken out, we can grab ourselves some ammo and move up closer, and up on this balcony here with an excellent firing position we can tell our squad to regroup.
Right. Heading to cover.
From here we have an excellent vantage point onto the Vorcha below, who normally don't stay a chance as long as we hold on to the high ground. One of the Vorcha here also catches warp detonation number 5 of this playthrough, and with that we have already completed 1/4 of the Tactician achievement. By the way, had we not taken out the Vorcha on the upper level first, then they would now not only be firing at us from their high ground, but they would also receive reinforcements if we take too long to clear out the area below. Needless to say that both of those things would make the fight a lot harder than it is right now, so taking things on slowly and methodically definitely has some advantages here. There is also one more huge advantage we get from staying on the upper level for as long as possible, and that would be the complete absence of Krogan enemies. Now, there is a possibility for Krogan to spawn in this fight, however, that only happens if we engage our enemies from the ground level. If we stay up here until the door with the reinforcements has closed for the final time, then we can take on the entire fight without running into any Krogan. Admittedly, this requires a bit of a mindset change from Mass Effect 1, where experience points were handed out for every single enemy that you killed, and where for that reason alone you maybe even wanted a Krogan to appear in this level, while in Mass Effect 2 experience points are only handed out for completing quests, no matter in which way. Admittedly, especially as a Paragon player, I kind of like that change, as it doesn't really penalize you for taking a peaceful approach. By the way, with this final blood pack here you can also see the stopping power of the M6 Carnifex, which just took care of the final enemy in the area. And with that we can now move on ahead towards the door where the blood pack came through. Of course, we once again want to make sure to grab all the ammo we can find. After all, one of the reasons we came down here in the first place was because our sniper rifle had run out.
Be right there.
For the next area, however, the assault rifle is probably the better choice, because as soon as we enter the small hallway here, 2 Vorcha and the Krogan ambush us from the other side. Needless to say, the Krogan is our first priority here, but if we can take out one of the Vorcha before the big guy enters the fight, that is of course even better. For the Krogan, we then want to make sure to strip away his armor as quickly as possible, before we hit him with warp detonation number 6 of this playthrough. That takes care of him quickly. Meanwhile, the Vorcha has been handled by our 2 squad members. If I saw that correctly, he also went up in flames, which adds to the Merciless achievement, and we are once again ready to proceed. Over in the corner we can find spare parts, which we can salvage for 1000 credits, and we can also use the medkit on the wall to get an additional 100.
We're close to the environmental controls. Let's get that cure in, then hit the fans.
You don't come here. We shut down machines, break fans. Everyone choke and die. Then collectors make us strong.
Alright, we have one quick and easy dialogue choice here. Asking questions gives us 2 Paragon points, while the other option is the Renegade one. And as long as we're not shooting each other, we might as well get some information.
What did the collectors want?
Collectors want plague. You work for Doctor. Turn on machines. Put cure in air. We kill you first.
Alright, 2 Paragon points earned, and not only that, we now also have the confirmation that the Vorcha are indeed working with the collectors. So what Mordin suspected is in fact true, and very likely also for the reasons he suspected, to test out the plague virus on various species with the humans as a control group. Now, be that as it may, we have now arrived on the scene, and as advanced as the plague is, we do have the cure, which we will hopefully be able to distribute soon.
system is in an alcove in the center of the back wall. You can inject the cure and reinitialize the systems there.
Now, before we inject the cure in the control system, we want to grab ourselves more ammo, and then we also want to switch back over to the sniper rifle and send our squad mates into position.
Heading to cover.
Alright, the cure is in, but the fans are not working yet, because those have been disabled by the Vorcha, as we just learned a few moments ago.
I have located the fan controls. There are two, one on either side of the room you're in now.
As soon as the cure is injected, more enemies rush into the area, and with that begins a lengthy, tedious and also very dangerous fight that you want to take on very, very carefully. There are also two more rocket-launching Vorcha on the upper level, and those two can be easily overlooked, but they should of course be taken out as soon as possible. Now back to what Edie said just a few seconds ago. She mentioned that there are two fan controls, one on either side of this room. And it really doesn't matter which one we take on first, so let's simply take the one on the left. Like I said earlier, it's a very good idea to take a very careful approach here, which is why we're now moving to the far end of the room and only go down the stairs there. Of course, we could have gone down closer to the door that we eventually need to go to, but that would have also led us a lot closer to the enemies. In this position right here, we have plenty of space between us and the attackers, which on one hand makes our sniper rifle immensely useful, while at the same time it also mostly neutralizes the closer range weaponry of the Vorcha. Especially the Bloodpack Pyro, who are using flamethrowers, are absolutely no threat at this range, while their highly explosive gas tanks actually make them a bit of a danger for the Vorcha around them. One tip regarding those pyros, by the way, as soon as their armor is stripped away, you can use overload on them, which detonates the gas tanks and kills the enemy immediately. And if you're lucky, you even have a few enemies standing close by, which are then caught in the explosion and suffer additional damage. Despite all that, it's still a good idea to remain in cover at all times in this fight, simply because the sheer number of enemies can wear you down quickly. Down here, the Vorcha are also not too afraid of rushing forward, and if 2 or 3 do that at the same time and manage to catch you off guard, that's more or less a guaranteed game over.
Right behind.
Now, we've played it safe and defeated the first wave, and with that our way to the fan controls is clear. Inside of the room here we can find some ammo and also a medical station on the wall, and once again, before we initialize anything, we will prepare accordingly by waiting until our squad members have caught up with us and switching back to the sniper rifle.
One down, one to go. Let's move. Right.
Going now.
Alright, here we are. One of 2 sets of fans has been turned on, but unfortunately that also means more enemies are coming in. So we will now have to play the whole game once more, but this time heading into the opposite direction. Just like before, because of the distance between us and the enemies, the sniper rifle makes for an excellent weapon choice, although sometimes the enemies need to be lured out a bit. However, in my opinion, that's a good sign that you're playing it safe enough. I would much rather have to lure out enemies than to be swarmed by them. As you can see, we've also once again mostly run out of sniper rifle ammo, and since our enemies are nowhere to be seen at the moment, we have no other choice but to close the distance a bit further. This now brings us within striking distance for our assault rifle, but since the Vorcha are also using those, we are of course also increasing the risk of being shot. Another warp detonation then brings us one step closer to the Tactician achievement, and as the enemy right next to it goes up in flames, we also earn ourselves one more kill towards the Merciless achievement. Those kills where the enemies go up in flames, by the way, those are caused by Jacob, who has the incendiary ammo power, which is not only especially useful against armor, but also sets enemies on fire. This stops health regeneration for a moment, and if they die while they're burning, it counts towards the Merciless achievement. Now, in a bit of a close affair here, we have now taken care of the last Vorcha on the lower level, but the threat isn't over yet, because to top it all off, we now have a Krogan coming in. Shepard, meanwhile, is hurt pretty badly and the Krogan still has armor on, so we can unfortunately not save our warp for the detonation later on. Instead, we'll have to use it now to get a bit of breathing room and to get Shepard back into cover. Our squad members then take care of the armor, we can use pull to send the Krogan flying, and soon after he is defeated and we have a short moment to catch our breath. 2 very important things at this point. Number 1, of course, we want to collect all the ammo on the floor, and number 2, we want our squad members to stay in their current positions. That is because the area in the middle here has also become a lot more dangerous, as on the upper level across from us we once again have several rocket-shooting Vorcha. And there is no need for our companions to run into the crossfire, instead we'll have them safely stay back and take care of things ourselves with Shepard and the sniper rifle. Once again, in this fight it definitely pays off to be calm and patient. As long as we stay behind cover, the rockets cannot injure us, and we can pick off the Vorcha one after the other. Shepard's adrenaline rush ability definitely comes in handy here as well, as it slows down time enough to hit the Vorcha while they're firing their rockets, but still gives us enough of a window to pop back behind cover before the rockets hit their target. And from one group of enemies we now immediately transition over to the next, as down from the opposite walkway another Krogan emerges. The Vorcha that normally accompany him thankfully stay back at this point, which now allows us to take on the Krogan with the full strength of our squad. And from behind cover, that is admittedly not the most difficult task. The Krogan's armor is quickly stripped away, however the attempt for another warp detonation fails, as Jacob's pull ability is caught on the wall. Still, even without it, the single enemy here is not too hard to take down. A few seconds later Miranda's warp still hits him, and soon after the Krogan is defeated. Once again, we now take the pathway in the very back of the area, once again as far away as possible from the control room that we eventually have to go to, just to keep some distance between us and the enemies.
Right behind you. Going to cover.
However, as we step down here we can see only 2 Vorcha are protecting the hallway, and as usual those 2 are quickly taken care of with the sniper rifle. Somewhat surprisingly though, with the 2 enemies down, no further reinforcements arrive, which I believe should normally happen. Now, while playing, it took me a while to realize that, which is why Shepard is spending a few moments in cover here. Eventually though, I came to the conclusion that this was in fact all standing between us and the fan controls, and so let us now move in and activate the second set of fans.
I'm here.
Understood.
Before we do though, just like in the room on the other side, we can get some ammo and some credits, and then we can turn on the fans and complete the mission.
Both fans are up. That should be it. Hostiles are clear.
Environmental systems engaged. Airborne viral levels dropping. Patients improving. Vorcha retreating. Well done, Shepard. Thank you.
And thank you from me as well. Those Batarians would have killed me. For a second there, I thought you were going to shoot them even after they let me go.
Alright, here we are, teleported back into Mordin's clinic, with the chance to get ourselves 2 more morality points, and of course, as usual, we are going Paragon here.
I made a promise to spare them if they let you go. I honor my promises.
Merciful of you. Risky. Would have killed them myself.
Professor, how can you say that? You're a doctor. You believe in helping people.
Lots of ways to help people. Sometimes heal patients, sometimes execute dangerous people. Either way helps. Go check on the patients. Lots of work to do. Think about what I said. Good kid, bit naive. He'll learn. Letting him take over the clinic. Should be able to handle it now that Vorcha are gone.
And now the time has come to finally recruit Mordin to our cause, and we can do so in a more blunt way for 2 Renegade points, or in the way I prefer to do it for 2 Paragon points, by simply asking him to join us.
We've cured the plague. Are you ready to help stop the Collectors?
Yes. Unexpected to be working with Cerberus. Many surprises. Just need to finish up here at the clinic. Won't take long. Meet you at your ship. Looking forward to it.
Alright, we could now jump back to the Normandy immediately, but instead we'll stay and get in a few more conversations.
I'm gonna look around for a moment.
Successfully recruiting Mordin gives us 5 Paragon and 5 Renegade points, together of course with the Paragon points we obtained in dialogue, and most importantly it also unlocks the Professor achievement.
I know you. From the apartment. You found me. You told Mordin about me, didn't you? You saved my life.
And here we now have the Batarian plague victim that we helped at the very beginning of the last episode, and it is definitely good to see that he is still alive.
The last time I saw you, you were too weak to move.
2 of Mordin's assistants found me. They gave me the vaccine and brought me back here once I was stable. They were humans, but they risked their lives to find me and bring me to safety.
Now it is a bit unfortunate to see this overlay block the dialogue choices here, but we will go with the option on the top left to remind the Batarian that there are in fact some humans that can be trusted.
Remember this the next time you're about to judge our species.
I was wrong about you, human. I was wrong about a lot of things.
And that is all we can get out of him, so let's leave and explore the clinic a bit more.
I'm glad to see you're okay.
I owe you my life, human. Thank you.
Right, and with the plague cured, the mood in the clinic has definitely shifted a bit, and I simply wanted you to experience that before we leave for the Normandy.
I can't believe Mordin said all those things. I thought I knew him.
Daniel, meanwhile, seems to have his issues still, but the rest of the clinic is much more delighted, as you will now see in the following few one-liners.
It's going to be strange running the clinic without the professor, but we'll get by.
Things are gonna be tough when Mordin goes. I hope everyone here remembers everything we did for them.
This clinic gave me sanctuary during the plague. I'll see if they need my help.
Thanks for bringing us here.
Thanks for bringing us here. You probably saved our lives.
With the Vorcha gone, the Blue Suns should be able to regain control of the district. Things can get back to normal.
The Vorcha may be gone, but I still don't trust the Blue Suns. Not after what they did.
Alright, and with that we have now in fact talked to everyone here, and we also don't have to return to Mordin to get back to the Normandy. Instead, we can simply do so by using the door here. And this now brings up the mission summary, which shows us that we have once again earned enough experience points to level up. The summary here also doesn't state anything too surprising. However, the scheming of the Illusive Man definitely shines through, because he appears to be willing to use our work on Omega as leverage against Arya. As you know, we have also obtained the Carnifex hand cannon from Mordin, which has already served us quite well in this mission, and I think it will continue to do so in the future. We have also obtained the Assault Rifle damage upgrade, which increases assault rifle damage by 10% for all squad members who can use them. We have also unlocked a research project to increase our metagel capacity, which is not to be confused with an upgrade because this one right here has to be researched first. In total, we have earned ourselves 48,000 credits. We only found 23,000 instead of the possible 25,000, but that is because we saved the Batarian plague victim, who would have otherwise dropped the remaining 2,000 credits had we let him die. For the Paragon points alone, however, I think our decision was worth it. Finally then, we have grabbed 1,000 units of Element 0, 2,000 units of Palladium, 2,000 units of Platinum, and also 2,000 units of Iridium, and with that we can close the report and meet Mordin on the Normandy.
Welcome to the Normandy, Professor. It's an honor to have you on board.
Yes, very exciting. Cerberus working with aliens. Unexpected. Illusive Man branching out, maybe? Not so human-centric.
And once again, just like in our first meeting with Mordin, he seems to be very well informed, and who knows, maybe he has even met Cerberus or the Illusive Man before.
You're very well informed.
Salarian government well-connected espionage experts had top-level clearance once, retired now, still hear things. Informed of name only, no knowledge of man behind it. Anti-alien reputation listed as problematic.
Right, once again we have the chance for morality points, and we will get ourselves 2 Paragon points for reminding Mordin that Cerberus is in fact still very much human-centric.
Don't kid yourself, Professor. Humans still come first in the Illusive Man's eyes. But this mission is too big for them to handle alone.
The Collectors are abducting human colonists out on the fringes of Terminus space.
Not simple abductions. Wouldn't need me for simple.
Entire colonies disappear without a trace. No distress signals are sent out. There are no signs of any kind of attack. There's virtually no evidence that anything unusual happened at all. Except that every man, woman, and child is gone.
Gas, maybe? No. Spreads too slow. Airborne virus? No. Slower than gas. Drugged water supply? No. Effects not simultaneous. Intriguing. Fascinating. No distress calls? No signs of resistance?
You don't have to sit there and guess. We collected samples from one of the colonies. I'd like you to analyze them and figure out how the Collectors did this.
Yes, of course. Analyze the samples. Going to need a lab.
There's a fully equipped lab on the combat deck, Professor Solus. If you find anything lacking, please place a requisition order.
Who's that? Pilot? No. Synthesized voice. Simulated emotional inflections. Could it be? No. Maybe. Have to ask. Is that an AI?
Now, quick note about the Paragon interrupt earlier. Yes, we intentionally missed the first one. The second one, of course, would not appear if you take that first one. It does, however, give the exact same amount of Paragon points, and it also continues the conversation in the exact same way. Regarding the AI, meanwhile, we will confirm that. I think as a scientist, Mordin will definitely find his uses for ED.
This ship is equipped with an artificial intelligence.
An AI on board. Non-human crew members. Cerberus more desperate than I thought.
The Collectors have taken tens of thousands of colonists. We'll do whatever we have to do to find and stop them.
Yes, of course. Can't risk being captured like colonists need to identify, neutralize technology, need samples. Which way to the lab?
Follow me, Professor.
Alright, here we are, back on board of the Normandy, and we have received 4 Paragon points for our dialogue choices. And I would say it's now time to talk a bit more to the man that we just recruited. With the addition of Mordin to the crew, the tech lab has now been unlocked, and inside we can now find the Salarian and have a quick chat with him.
What's this area of the ship?
This is the Normandy's technical lab, where you can investigate new research upgrades that will improve ship or team performance. All upgrades can be developed in the Normandy's lab. provided you have acquired the necessary resources. You can find these resources by scanning planets or searching while on missions.
Shepard, how can I help?
And first of all, we want to go with the investigate option here, otherwise we would have to start the conversation again to ask these questions, so let's begin by asking Mordin if he has everything he needs.
Is the lab working well for you?
Quite satisfactory. Found a few surveillance bugs. Destroyed most of them. Returned expensive one to Miranda. Nothing unexpected. Just need more samples. More collector data, tissue samples, anything you can get, I can use. Find new tech.
Now, as we know, Mordin is pretty experienced when it comes to medical work, so maybe he has also noticed something about the crew that we currently have on board.
Are there any medical concerns I should be aware of on the team?
Cerberus personnel in excellent condition. No squad concerns to report. Always some matters, but nothing affecting immediate mission.
Finally then, with the recruitment of Mordin, this dialogue choice here has unlocked with all of our squad members, who we can now ask for ideas on things we can research and upgrade.
Any ideas on other ways to prepare for the collectors?
Ideas, yes. Expensive, but possibly valuable. Can show you.
Alright, this right here is the research menu, but we'll talk a bit more about that in the future. We have different research projects here categorized into weapon, armor, ship and prototypes, and asking Mordin about his ideas has just unlocked the Mordin Omnitool research project under prototypes. Now we could research that from here, but once again we'll get into research a bit further down the line. For now, let's continue the conversation.
Let me know if upgrades seem feasible. Can install them whenever you like.
Alright, and now we can dive in a bit deeper and ask Mordin a few questions about his personal background.
Have you got a minute to talk?
Of course. Plague on Omega dealt with. Plenty of time to analyze collector intelligence. Impressive laboratory setup. Missed working for operations with a budget. AI in particular. Very helpful. Best setup I've seen since work with Special Tasks Group.
Now, Mordin just mentioned that he has worked with the Salarian STG in the past, and we have actually also met an STG group back on Virmire in Mass Effect 1. However, back then we didn't really learn much about their structure.
Tell me more about the Salarian Special Tasks Group.
Respected organization. Clandestine. Handles difficult assignments with limited oversight. Recon, analysis, occasional wet work. Identify problems, have neutralization options ready should need arise. Model for Council Spectres based on Special Tasks Group. Very similar.
Similar in what way?
Salarians lack numbers, brute strength, military prowess, have to rely upon stealth, intelligence. Agents trusted, given wide operative freedom. Spectres similar, given goal, told to accomplish. Better, funded, of course. Didn't have to buy our own weapons.
Now, Mordin also seemed to feel some relief that he no longer has to work in the under-equipped lab back on Omega, and yes, the equipment that Cerberus has to offer is definitely a step up from what we saw earlier.
It must have been frustrating working on Omega with such a limited facility.
No, loved it. Limited facility presents challenge. Save greatest number of people using limited resources. Security threats, gangs, mercenary groups add additional difficulty. Quite enjoyable. Plague stretched abilities to limit. Couldn't have asked for more. Also, enjoy. Saving people, of course. Helping the helpless, greater good, all that too. Nice. Retirement after SDG work complete.
Now, since we both found and saved Daniel back on Omega, we can also ask about him, and that might be interesting considering how Daniel felt about Mordin's words before they parted.
Is your assistant Daniel settling in all right?
Quite well. Safe and secure. Neighborhood mostly quiet with Plague gone. Left him the security mechs just in case. Can't be too careful. Also tired of mechs. Noisy. Never used them in STG.
Okay, and once again the STG is mentioned, and since we have asked everything else, let's learn a bit more about Mordin's past with them.
You said you were in the Special Tasks Group. What kind of research were you doing?
Not simply research. Several recon missions. Covert, high risk, served under a young captain named Kirihi. Studied Krogan genophage, took water, tissue samples from Krogan colonies.
A very interesting coincidence here. Mordin did in fact also serve under Captain Kirihi, who is the Salarian who led the attack on Saren's base on Virmire back in Mass Effect 1.
I worked with an STG captain named Kirihi. His team helped me destroy Saren's cloning facility on Virmire.
Heard he was part of that. Jury-rigged explosive. Always got job done with limited resources. Good captain. Bit of a cloaca, though. Loved his speeches. Hold the line. Personally prefer to get job done and go home. Probably military bravado, jargon, chest-pounding. No offense.
Also very interesting, Mordin just mentioned that he studied the genophage. Our knowledge on the genophage is pretty much limited on what we've learned from Rex in Mass Effect 1, so maybe Mordin can offer us a new perspective.
What can you tell me about the genophage?
Bioweapon designed by Salarian science team, deployed by Turians against Krogans to end Krogan rebellions more than 1,000 years ago. Affects every cell of Krogan body. Commonly and incorrectly considered a sterility plague. Actually adjusts viable fertility rates to compensate for high Krogan birth rate. Stabilizes to pre-industrial population growth levels.
Alright, that is in fact a slightly different view on things. It does not explain, however, why Mordin and the STG studied the genophage in the first place.
Why would STG study the genophage?
Krogan rebellion's bloody, dangerous, nearly as bad as Rachni attacks. All species evolve, adapt, mutate. If genophage weakens, need to be prepared.
What was the STG preparing to do?
Military schematics for likely Krogan population growth, political scenarios for attack points. Genophage reduced Krogan numbers. Species aggression unchecked, population explosion would be disastrous. STG helped check Krogan rebellions, needed to be ready to do the same. Simple recon, nothing to worry about.
Alright, I think whether or not that is in fact something to worry about, that remains to be seen. For the moment, we have exhausted all of our dialogue options with Mordin, so we can now leave again and no longer keep him from working.
Nice talking with you, Mordin.
I should get back to work. Need to study. So much data. Here if you need me.
Alright, and this is also the point where we make the cut in today's episode. We could now go around the Normandy and talk to the rest of the crew, but if we're thorough, this episode would likely reach or even cross the 1 hour threshold, and that is a bit too long for my taste. So we'll wrap things up right here with Mordin Solus successfully recruited, and next time we'll then have a few more conversations and also head back down to Omega to continue the game's main quest line. Until then, as always, if you liked the episode, then I would be happy if you could leave a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel, then you can either subscribe if you haven't already, or you can support the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.